So, I just woke up. Um, I'm Louisa. Louisa on peer support. It is Friday, June 30th, the last day of the month. I am a Navy veteran with First Gulf War. This is going to be a dream log today. Because I'm remembering my dreams, especially from last night. And I got my bipolar shot yesterday, and when I took the first bipolar shot, with the increase, I had a lot of adrenaline. I had a lot of adrenaline from that first shot. I mean, I was just, I was pumped up, very wakeful. When I took the second, the first thing, yeah, and this is kind of like a normal reaction that I've had to the shots over the past years, is I got immediately sleepy. It's one of the reasons why I don't like taking the shot the day that I have to go to work. That's why I take it on a Thursday, because I start work on a Friday. And I was on Thursday, I was doing volunteer work and everything, but I wasn't at work at my paid job. So I was able, I brought my peer to a mental health meeting, a chronic pain group, Mental Health America of Abilene. And so while she was in there, I was starting to get like real sleepy. So I went out to the truck to take a nap. Like I needed a nap, like right away. That's a good side effect for me, because I know that my shot has entered my system, that I've gotten another dosage. and it gives me, it tells me another thing, that my previous dosage has 14 days. Normally, if I get the shot and like I feel awake, like I feel an adrenaline rush. It means my dosage hasn't lasted the 14 days. But like I said last night, I went to bed around 10, because I had that little cat nap at noon. I was awake enough to do the rest of my day, and I even did some traveling to a town 40 miles away, to go to help another peer deliver a mower, and then I was able to go to another support meeting. And what was good during the day, my appetite was good. I was I ate breakfast at Denny's, and right around lunchtime I had I wanted something salty, so I ate. And then I like about 3 o'clock, um I had a craving for a corn dog, so I got me a corn dog. um and um And then later on that evening, I wanted sausage on a stick. So I got me sausage on a stick from Allsup's. All through the day, I just had these cravings for things that I haven't had in a long time. And so my appetite was really good. My appetite was really good. I even had some sweets, and I had a staff meeting, and I even, in the raffle, I even won some cappuccino coffee beans. So I was snacking on those. So I was, all through the day I was eating. um, I mm, and like I said, I'm gonna start talking about my sleep. Um, I was ready to go to bed around 10 or so, and then a friend contacted me um, to talk on Skype. So, I talked to him for about an hour. So, but I was asleep by 11, and then I slept for about 4 hours, and I worked on some flyers for NAMI, um, for our mental health awareness week conference, and that kind of occupied me. I had something to do instead of just like being awake and not had something constructive to do. And I did that for about 2 hours, and then I started drifting off again right after 5. And when I drifted off that second time is when I started having my dreams. And then these are dreams that I remember. But the gist of the dream, I was with a group of people, and it involved a lot of traveling in the beginning of the dream. And it was because the reason for the traveling, it was I was going to a conference, and the conference I was with that I didn't know, but I was excited about being around. And and there were women, and they were playful, and they were full of energy, and they were excited about being at this conference. And first, the first I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I was there, that I was invited, and I was enjoying the company. And and when I was listening to the various speakers, and at one of the talks, I was invited to come back to the next conference and be a panel speaker. That they had liked my level of energy and stuff like that, and they invited me back. And so I just remember feeling accomplished, and I still didn't know, at this know what the conference was about, and I was going around the room meeting everybody and everything, and by that time I know that there was a theme. All these women had dealings with this Whitney, and that was selling homes before they were unfinished. And so they were getting a lot of negative feedback from their experiences from the buyers, because they were going to them in order to buy these homes, and and they had to sell or finish. So we were talking about that, and there was a common theme that this one company was doing that, that this one company was selling these homes before they were finished. So after about talking about 4 or 5 women in the room, I was at a real estate conference for realtors, and and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm not a real estate broker, and how in the hell did I get invited to another conference? Well, I don't know anything about real estate, right? But I just had this way doing problem solving that they really liked. They liked the way I thought, and they wanted me on a panel. And then while I was in one of the last talks in the morning going into the afternoon, one of the people in the audience invited me over to his conference, and it was a mental health conference. And I was like, oh, well, I'm excited about that. That's me, mental health. And, but, so he showed me into the room and everything, and everybody was in suits, and everybody was like dressed to the nines, and, the real estate conference to the mental health conference, it got all professional real quick. There were these chairs that were like big black reclining chairs, but they were so big that I couldn't get into them. I couldn't get into the chairs, and when I was trying to climb into my chair to sit down, there was a guy next to me, and I asked him, can I lean on your like lean on your armrest to get into my chair. And he's like, he kind of looked at me like, I guess, and I was like, he's like, wants me to do this. But so I finally got into this big chair, and I was like, the chair was just so big. It's like, it was just like so roomy and everything. And then they were doing PowerPoints and all kind of stuff on the screen. So I was trying to get the gist of what they were talking about, but the language was like, like way above my head. And but I tried to make myself comfortable, and I had gotten myself so comfortable that I had my leg like leaning into this guy's space next to me. And he was just like, "What are you doing?" And I was just kind of lounging, trying to get comfortable and everything. And I just remember how, when I was at the real estate conference, it was just like so lively. So, I was in my element. And then the conference that I really wanted to be at was so out of my element, and like my colleagues were way, way above me, you know. But I did my best, I did my best. And so, um, so that kind of, I woke up with that feeling of too far in, being in like, not the feeling of overwhelmment as much as like, oh my goodness, if they knew who I was, me trying to fit in, if they knew who I was, would they still invite me to? But I did have I had a liaison from one conference to the other. So I did have an invite. But that ties in to the Viscott method. In the survey tape, my next question is, what do you worry about? And that dream sequence that I had, really got subliminal, and in my unconscious, what do I worry about? And so the topic is, for me, what I worry about is, especially now, my professional career, how am I perceived? It seems like I can blend in and take a lot of what I know about mental health and translate it to the layperson, but when I'm with my colleagues, when I I'm I have a harder time communicating because they communicate in a language that's not layman, and they do a lot of theory, and they do a lot of processes or diagnoses and stuff like that in their profession, and that's what they. Whereas what I do on a daily basis is not about processes or anything. It's about relationships, these peer support relationships, and how how do you apply some principles in mental health? What's the application? And that's what I like doing is, either talking one-on-one or in a group setting about some simple not even techniques, as more as ways to think that that can be helpful when you're in crisis. And that can be helps to be supportive. And this weekend, while I'm at work, I will be working with someone that has decided to look into superior, and and I've been working heavily with someone who's been my peer support um, for over 4 years, since I've come back from my from my last 3 bipolar episodes that led to hospitalization. But I just thought it was neat that the medication actually helped me remember my dreams, and it kind of tied in to my tape. This is a busy day for me today. It's the last day of the month, and the first is on a Saturday, so that means I actually got paid today on the 30th. So I'll be doing all my bill paying that I normally do on the 1st today, but I'm to capture a dream log and capture that moment. I'll probably do more in the future, more dream logs in the future, if I'm remembering my dreams. And it was important to do this dream log because it wasn't a traumatic, perceived as traumatic, because of the being in a group setting with people I don't know, or being in a group setting with my colleagues, but I didn't have any social anxiety, even though there was some perception of it. I handled myself pretty well in the dreams is that you can use a dream to work out a reaction. if you're I think it's called livid dreaming, when you're actually controlling the events in your dream. I think it's called livid dreaming. I might be incorrect. But there is a process of dreaming where you're in charge of what's going on, and you can practice a response and see what happens. And it's you communicating with your subconscious and like getting on the same page, like getting your subconscious on the same page as or getting your subconscious on the same page as your consciousness, and so that those two realms are communicating, and it's breaking the barrier between, like in an iceberg, what is being exposed as the iceberg, and tapping into what's underneath the surface, which is way bigger. What's underneath the surface is way bigger than what's actually exposed in the iceberg. Um, but I'm I popped up this morning, with that mission to document. It's like with all this, with all this need to document lately. Um, it's it's interesting that that is what's on my mind. And part of my wellness, wake up to some music. I've listened to Pandora enough that I've got um, over 400 thumbs ups, or up to about 400 thumbs up. So now I have a thumbprint radio, and this is the melding of all of my music, which I love so much. And how it collects from all my different moods, and um, so I'm creating me, and and over a process of a week of listening to Pandora, I have a timestamp. um, it's really good. The feeling is so good to be in exploration with yourself, and then to have people in your life that are doing it with you. Um, and and a month ago, I was so scared. I was so scared because, the guy that I thought wanted to be with me didn't, you know, and I didn't know what to do, and I was very frightened by that. And in over a month's time, it's been about over 6 weeks now, I've I've recovered. I've recovered from the breakup by concentrating on me, and um, just looking at the breakup as just an invitation to explore myself and get a grasp on even though he didn't. You know, it's like, what? Oh, it's not a matter that he didn't like me. It's just a matter that he chose somebody else. And maybe one of the reasons why he didn't choose me is because I was so explorative and I was always, looking at myself, you know, and that required a lot of exploration, and he didn't want to sign up for that. But that is who I am. I'm very explorative. So, such is life. There are people in my life now that embrace that about me. So, as you can hear, like I live near an Air Force base, so the planes are taking off. It's time for me to wake up. I'll review this tape before I start my day, and get to going, get to moving, do my bill paying before going to work. Ready for this weekend at work. Another month. July is upon us, and if I don't get to get back on, because being busy from work and everything, I wish everybody a a a happy 4th of July weekend, and I want to honor veterans for their service, um, active duty as well, service members and their families for the sacrifice they made for our freedom, and the continued sacrifice that they made for our freedom. And one more time, it's to be an American, and I'm gonna sign off. You guys have a good weekend. Bye.